Another atheist trying to sound smart by attacking religion. This is nothing new. You just want to tear down people's beliefs without offering anything better. This is the comment I'm going to be replying to today. I want to try something new, a new series, in fact, every Thursday going forward. So tell me if you guys are into it, but I think it'll be nice to just do one comment at a time, and it won't always be critical, and it will allow us to really unpack some of these things and get more into the weeds. So give me a minute to set this up, and we're going to dive right in today. This is a replacement though, because previously in October, the Thursday episode was the companion episode to Sharing Fire. That was always going to be temporary, and I wasn't sure that I was going to keep up 5 videos a week, but I think I might, especially because this one won't require any research. I just get to talk. I just get to respond. Also, these will probably be shorter, and also, for those of you that are newer to the channel, I want to try to pull comments from older videos. That way I can point you back to some of my favorites. So this comment today comes from a video titled Questioning the Unquestionable, an Uncomfortable Conclusion, and my thumbnail said, God Lost Evil Won. I think it'll be worth it to explain what that video was about extremely succinctly, and then we're going to get into responding to the comment. That video has the most simple premise ever, and I'd encourage all of you to go watch and hear it completely explained, but here's the short version. God says that he desires for none to be lost. God is said to be all-powerful. God is said to be sovereign. Therefore, if even one person is annihilated or sent to hell, depending on what the believer believes, God did not complete his mission. He created something that failed his hope and expectation. And yeah, you can talk about free will, and again, I go through all of the arguments, but I believe it's truly that simple. And not that I believe in this God, but as an internal critique of his character and of the claims made about him, I think that shows us a lot. And that video was enough to trigger this kind of a response, but it's a response that I get in a lot of videos. And I have just a few points that I want to reply with. There's always this idea from Christians that it's my responsibility to come up with a brand new solve, to put forward something positive, that I have no right to attack Christianity without a replacement idea. But we don't do this anywhere else in life. I don't need to be a chef to know that food is spoiled. I don't need to design a new car engine to know that the one I have exploded. And I don't need to be a better surgeon than the one working on me to recognize malpractice. Being able to see the harm or the fallibility in something does not immediately mean that before that can be shared, I have to have a solution. Maybe, and we're going to get into this in a minute, the solution is no longer believing or adhering to wrong and false and harmful things. Criticism is not inherently invalid just because it doesn't come packaged with a solution. What a very small idea. You'll see this a lot in political debates as well. One side will point out an obvious untruth or harm from the other side, and they'll say, okay, what's your solution? What would you have done? And I do understand to a degree, not just bringing problems, but solutions. But sometimes the solution is, did you guys just see that? Some bug just floated down. Anyways, getting back on track, is just being aware of the harm in the first place. Secondly, I understand that people often hear critique and think subtraction, that you're taking away. But again, I think critique can actually be building in and of itself. I am not trying to remove anyone's hope or anyone's community or their morality or all the other things that I get accused of. This is just the believer's hang-up that all of that is intrinsically held within their God concept. It is not. You can still have hope and community and morality and all of the other things outside of God, sometimes more and sometimes in better forms. It's not guaranteed, but nothing is. You might have to work on it. You might have to deconstruct. You might have to reconstruct. And despite this comment, I think I offer a lot of reconstruction help. In fact, that's kind of what the second channel is geared towards. But even here on Mindshift, I have lots of videos, and I'll list them all in the description of this video in case you are someone in the in-between or who just lost these things and you need to start figuring out what's next. But I don't have to include a blueprint for your life every single time that I talk about an obvious harm or issue within Christianity. In In a lot of cases, and I've heard this because I've been doing this for a couple years now and I get so much feedback, which is incredible. People who feel just like this commenter, who think that there's nothing good on the other side, who have their guard up, who are defensive, oftentimes because they are so close to that precipice of letting go, of waking up, of seeing clearly. It's often right on the other side that they say, oh, the healing, the truth, the light, the real hope, getting to live in reality, being my authentic self. And for the people that don't get that positive an experience after deconversion, it doesn't make the act of deconverting incorrect. It doesn't all of a sudden make the claims of Christianity true. Leaving religion is not subtraction. I think that's just a huge mind shift that I really would like to communicate. Religion in general is one offering of many of the things that are just part of humankind. The problem is it presents itself as the offering, and thus to the Christian, it can often look like, well, if that's gone, then what? And you're not giving me anything else, so what? So what, I'm just wrong? So the things I'm pointing out are just clearly untrue? No, it doesn't work that way. What do you offer instead is already assuming that religion was necessary. No, religion, like many other things in life, is a tool. And it might have been more necessary in the past for certain people at certain times in certain cultures, as it provided an answer where there previously were none. But again, that's because there was all of these gaps. And as those gaps start to close and collapse, the necessity of religion, if there ever was such a thing, dwindles. And we shouldn't hold on to something just because it's comfortable or just because we don't know what's on the other side of it, if indeed it is untrue or harmful. Here's a couple fun facts. Morality is older than the Bible, older than Christianity. So is love. So is empathy. So is meaning. So is every single thing in your life that you think you would lose if you lose religion. Now, I will give one caveat that is many people, because they grow up in it and because they are so segmented because of what religion does, their community might truly be involved in religion and in religion only. And I am very hyper aware of what it means to lose that community initially when you lose your faith. You don't have to, by the way, but that will be determined off of what kind of church and denomination and how cool your friends are and all kinds of other things. And so that's real, but it doesn't mean you can't build a new one or repair that one or find a balance. And I don't have all my thoughts in perfect order, so I might be jumping around here. But another thing I know that I wanted to address alongside this concept of offering something better is that losing something wrong or harmful is in and of itself already a better position. Here's briefly what that can look like for some people. Less fear. Religion absolutely uses fear for control and obedience. Less fear is a better thing. Less guilt over normal human thoughts. Now, I can already hear some Christians saying, oh, see, you just wanted to leave because you wanted to sin. You wanted to be handed over to your wicked ways. You didn't want to have to obey. You didn't want to have to submit. No, that's not what this is about. I have yet to meet an atheist or hear from an atheist that is their actual experience. Most people regretfully leave religion because they just woke up to the truth. They can't help it. They don't choose what they believe. And for most of us, for a time, things get worse before they get better. Things feel harder before they get easier. But even in that, all of a sudden not fearing hell or your own thoughts is already a betterment, as is less shame, as is not believing you're broken from birth, as is actually becoming more responsible for the choices we make. That's what's so funny about that whole you left because you just want to sin thing. See this video here, by the way. Religion already provided for sin. You had a literal scapegoat. You were promised paradise no matter how bad you were, as long as you thought the right thing. Realizing you only have one life to live and that you are ultimately responsible for it, that's A, harder, and B, better. You get more ownership over your own values. You are not forced into defending things that are obviously untrue and harmful. Those are going to be the keywords of the day. We just did the video on Christians having to admit that they cannot condemn slavery. Guess what? You, as the atheist, even subjectively, can. You are not bound to defending your God by defending his awful practices. That's improvement. That is moral progression. I thought of myself as a pretty compassionate, and towards the end of it all, progressive Christian. And I still had bigotry and hangups on lots of different issues because it's what the Bible said. I wasn't able to think for myself until I was. Oftentimes you can get a much deeper appreciation for reality. This is, again, no building yet, no needing me to offer something better. Just losing the facade of religion can actually increase your appreciation, your wonder, your awe, your gratitude for this life and being part of it. Speaking for myself, I immediately gained more compassion for the people in my life that still believed, but then again for all of the unbelievers that I had, whether I admitted it or not, judged. How can you not? They're lost. They don't know what I know. They don't have the perfect truth like I do. They're missing out on the glory of God, on his precious gifts, on the future he has for them. There's a difference between acting out of that judgment, but I didn't have to feel that anymore. I could gain a sense of oneness with humanity. I was now part of it, not above it, not special, not set apart, not chosen, not elect, all of the other things. And again, my empathy went up because it wasn't about someone being evil anymore. It was about recognizing their trauma. It wasn't about someone being born sinful or handed over to the devil or being possessed. It was about the circumstances in their life. Even just admitting uncertainty is so freeing and healthy. Being able to say, I don't know, and that's okay, is something that doesn't really fly in Christianity. Yeah, on some topics, sure. But in general, you are claiming that you know certain things that you just cannot know, certain things that you're actually taking on faith, certain things you only believe because you're supposed to, because the Bible told you, or the people that got you into the religion told you, or it's what your Bible study taught you last week or whatever. Learning that I don't know is more than unacceptable answer is a betterment. So those things are already innately there waiting for you, even at the bottom of it all, when you lose your faith. And by the way, for many people, and I think this is true for everything outside of religion, whenever this kind of comment is used, well, what's your plan? Well, you're not offering anything better. Maybe we can't build a better plan or find something better or even have the desire to do so until we let go of this. That's so incredibly obvious to me. It falls apart with religion because it still is kind of saying, what is a better religion? No, maybe no religion is the better thing. But in general, you're not really free to see that until you see the problems with your current status quo. I hope I explained that well. Let me look back at this quote though. Did I miss anything? Oh, trying to sound smart by attacking religion. If I wanted to try to sound smart, I would be grifting on a apologetics channel. I would be feeding deepities from the Bible to believers that were desperate to eat it up. I guarantee you my audience would be 10 times bigger, as well as would my income. I'd be accepted by everyone in my family and community, which I am not right now. And I have a lot more knowledge in the Bible and in being a practicing Christian than I do on the other side. So if this was about ego, trust me, the last thing I would have done is been the one black sheep in my entire life and going completely against the grain just to deal with Christians telling me how wrong and stupid I am every day. So that also fails. Also, how hurt and bitter and calloused and ridiculous do you have to be to watch my videos and think that I simply am like the Joker in Batman, that I just want to cause chaos, that I just want to tear down for the sake of it? You don't have to like me, you don't have to agree with me, but if you really, really think that, that's on you. If this is something you would indeed like me to continue to do on Thursdays, let me know. If there's ever a comment you see as you're reading through and you're like, hey, I'd love to hear Brandon respond to this one specifically, send it my way. But for kind of a closing thought here, if letting go of something false, of something harmful, leaves a space that feels empty for a while, that's not loss. That's room for the first time, a wide open space to be, to actualize, to make up your mind about what you really believe, what's really important to you, what your real values are. It might sound scary, but man, to me, it just sounds like opportunity and freedom and excitement. I'm not denying the struggle. I've been through it. You've heard that, but it is better overall to be in reality, to live in the truth. So at the end of the video, you'll see it on the screen and in the description below the full video if you'd like to go check that out, or feel free to come on over to Sharing Fire. Yesterday's episode was about 10 great thinkers and their blind spots. Thanks so much for being here. I'll see you Saturday on Sharing Fire and Sunday here on Mindshift. And until then, keep thinking. I wanted to personally thank my top tiers of support: my Iconoclast and Boris, Grant, GVI, Jimmy Joe, Kitboga, yes, the Kitboga, Matthew, Perry, and Shawn. My Humanist heroes: Chris, Christian, Craig, James, Jarrod, Kristi, and Matthew. My Atheist advocates: Aquitar, Caleb, Dakota, Dan, Drew, Jeff, Jeffrey, Jeremy, Jugs, Julie, Malcom, Paul, Sparky, and Thomas, as well as all of my secular scholar patrons.